in a minute where we're going to talk about the reason why this number could vary. So make sure you don't miss that part. That's going to come up in just a minute. But let me show you how now all of this works together. So I'm going to open a calculator, standard calculator in Windows, and we came up with 3.64 this time. So we have 3.64 divided by 20, which is the number of cuts that we just did. But let me show you how now all of this works together. So we're going to divide that. I'm going to open a calculator, standard calculator in Windows, and we came up with 0.91. So that's how quickly it is. So I was pretty close. That's what I had last time, 0.09125. Now all I'm going to do is come back to the cuts and layers, bring up my red layer, which is the layer that I personally use to cut with. I'm going to take that number in the kerf offset. I'm going to put 0.091 outward. Okay? It's a positive number. So now the further outward you go, the tighter the fit will be when you try and put two pieces together. The further inward you go, the more loose the fit will be. My perfect fit here is going to be 0.091. Now this, even though it's a perfect fit, it may not be exactly perfect for, let's say, a puzzle that you want your children to use and reuse over and over again, because that 0.091 is going to be the perfect fit. So it may be hard to push the pieces together. You may have to use a little rubber mallet, but they will fit perfectly where you don't even need any glue. Okay? So now if you wanted to loosen that up some, let's say you were making a puzzle for the children to use, then maybe you'd want to go 0.08 instead of 0.091. So that would be something that you'd want, and that's the reason why they sell these tools online, so that you can stick them into the different slots and find out exactly what kind of fit you want to get. But I really think that that's all unnecessary. I've never had a problem using this kerf offset and then just thinking to myself, do I want it super tight where I have to use a little mallet to knock it in? That would be 0.091. Or do I want it to be a puzzle? On a puzzle, I would do 0.07 personally, myself. And that would make it fit in and out nice and easily. So this is something that you'll get used to. After you've done your first cut, run two puzzle pieces with the 0.091 and you'll see what I'm talking about. It'll be a tight fit. Now you're not going to want to use this type of a kerf offset on something like my Eiffel Tower project that I posted a while back, because that has many different cuts in different places that have to all be pieced together at the same time, and this might be a little too tight for that. On my Eiffel Tower, I did it at 0.03, if I'm not mistaken, just to tighten it up. And the first couple of Eiffel Towers that I did it with no kerf offset whatsoever and just used the glue. And then later on I figured out, I needed to fit a little bit tighter, so I did it at either 0.02 or 0.03, I don't remember which one it was, but that's where I put a little glue on there and they just kind of squeezed together, and I did them one at a time. So that was the perfect kerf offset for that project. You'll get used to this as you go. So now we have that 0.091. As soon as I say OK, Lightburn is going to save it on this cut layer permanently. So, and I always use red to cut, so if you always use black to cut, you'd want to do this on your black layer or whatever color layer that you're using that you typically use to cut. And so that's about it. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the reason why this number would change. And there is a reason why this number would change over time, over the course of a week or 2 weeks or even a couple of days, depending on how you use your laser. So if you're a heavy user of the laser and you don't clean your lens and your mirrors on a CO2 daily, this number might change slightly. So cleaning and maintenance is really important. If you're in a commercial setting, you start at 8 o'clock in the morning, you finish at 4 o'clock in the evening, either in the morning or the evening, you're going to want to clean your mirrors, you're going to want to clean your lens to prepare for the next day. A diode laser, same thing. Now, when it comes to cleaning, there are even manufacturers out there that will tell you the wrong way to clean your lens and your mirrors. I promise you. Even the manufacturers are going to tell you the wrong way to do it because they're more interested in sales than anything else. But I had a good friend, he's passed away now, but he was in the business, and he was the person that put the coatings on the mirrors for, big $100,000 CO2 cutters, $25,000 to $200,000 machines. And in fact, he worked for the company for quite a while. He did, for a long time, he did the coatings application, and then for a while after that, he did the polishing and finishing and packaging, so very experienced at it. And he told me, years ago, 15 years ago, I got this commercial laser from a parish auction, didn't know what it was, had to learn all about it. That's how I actually became friends with this gentleman. And he told me that these coatings that they put on these lenses and these mirrors are thousandths of an inch thick. Very, very thin, super thin coatings. And they're easily damaged. So the one thing that you don't want to do is damage your lens or your mirrors because it will affect the kerf offset. You need to have clean lens, clean mirrors to do this. And you cannot, and here's where I'm probably going to get a bunch of opposite comments down below, but it doesn't matter what you say to me because following this one little procedure is, Bible verse to me. I will not use any abrasive cleaners on my mirrors or my lenses, period. Doesn't matter what you say in the comments, what your opinion is or anything else. I got this straight from an expert. You do not use anything that's ammonia based or any type of abrasive. So you can't use Windex, you can't use even lens cleaners. I've seen in the photo store, I used to buy Calzis cleaner till I found out that it had ammonia in it, which is an abrasive cleaner. I've since, and this company does not sponsor me at all, I've since switched to a brand called Purity that I get on Amazon, and I'll put a link down below in the description. And this little bottle has a micro sprayer on the top. So this bottle is about 6 months old, and you can see that I've used very little here, and I probably use this every day or every other day, at the longest. It sprays out a microburst. I use a microfiber towel, and this little package came with it. I have them in white, and this one came with silver microfiber. Light color is the best way to go. You unscrew your air assist, unscrew your nozzle, unscrew your retainer, drop your lens into the center of the microfiber cloth, give it a shot, spritz, flip it over, give that a spritz, fold the cloth over, and just very gently rub it, take a look at it. Always hold it in this position. Never hold it sideways, so in case the mirror drops out or the lens of the mirror drops out. And I always do this with a towel underneath, just in case it falls out. But then you want to look at it and see if it's clean. If it's not clean, move it to another spot. Just slightly move it over, spritz it again, do it again, and you'll be able to see. You probably can't see on the mirror. There's a black spot there. There's one over here. There's a few dark spots on here. This cloth is almost ready to get washed. But the reason I like using the light colored cloths is so that you can see if after you've gently rubbed it, you've sprayed it and rubbed it, if anything comes off. When you get it to the point where it's a beautiful, nice shine, then you know you can drop it back in. And yes, on the CO2, convex side is up, flat side is down. Doesn't matter what anybody tells you. The physics in that is pretty clear. If you look at the way the laser beam comes down like this, you'll know that the flat side is supposed to go down. But anyway, that's beside the point. With the diode lasers, you can do the same thing. Take the diode out of the holder, hold it in your left hand. Usually you can just take your finger and the cloth, put it in the hole, and turn the laser module with a very gentle pressure on the lens, and then look at it and see if it's clean. If it's not clean, use another spot, do it again. On a lot of diode lasers, you'll see a little slot in the lens on both sides. You can take an oversized screwdriver, unscrew the lens, take it out, and clean it that way. But just remember, very gentle. Now, if you get dirt buildup on your lens, you're going to run into trouble. I just had, a couple of weeks ago, one of my biggest supporters, Jan Mueller in Texas, sent me an email, said, hey, can you log into my computer and help me with some issues I'm having? I'm burning double lines. And I said, sure, no problem, but let me ask you a question first. When was the last time that you cleaned your lens? And she said, never. So when I heard double lines, I kind of figured that that lens was cracked. So I said, okay, well, can you, unscrew your air assist, unscrew your nozzle, unscrew the retainer, and take the lens out and see if it's dirty. So her husband happened to be there. He did it, he unscrewed it, and as soon as he took it out, he saw it was cracked in half. And the reason that happens, this was a Boss laser, 60 watt, I believe. The reason that happens, the laser passes directly through the lens on your laser. So that laser has no resistance, passes directly through, causes no heat whatsoever. However, as you're cutting throughout the day, smoke, soot, debris comes back up into the nozzle if your air assist isn't strong enough. So like on the CO2, you have the blow and the wind. If your blow is not strong enough, the smoke will come up into it. Sometimes on some lenses, the air assist goes directly into the side, which causes the air to go around in a circle, and sometimes that even pulls up the smoke into the lens. So at the end of every day, you have to clean it, because if it gets dirty with soot, smoke, what happens is, the laser is still going to pass right through the middle, because it'll burn right through the dirt and the debris, but the debris that's around the outside of the laser is going to heat up. And as that heats up during your cuts, what's going to happen is it's going to heat up to the point where it's going to crack the glass. So I know a lot of people, it seems interesting to me that manufacturers don't tell you this, but who knows, maybe they want to sell you more lenses. Another reason why it would change is if you use a different lens. So on my machine here, I've got 1.5, 2-inch, 2.5, and 4-inch lens that I use. And I also use combination lenses, convex and meniscus together for engraving. But when you change your lens, you're going to have to do this test one more time. So that's the second thing that you have to do, is when you change lenses. Now for the mirrors, same thing. Take your little sprayer, spray it into the mirror very gently with your microfiber cloth. Clean it out with your fingertip. That's all you need to do on your mirrors, number 1 and 2. Mirror number 3, you just unscrew the top of the mirror, take the mirror out, clean it, put it back in, make sure it's dry before you put it back in, screw it back in place, and you're done. So those are some important things, and I think I'm going to do a video on cleaning where I actually clean the CO2 lens as well as the diode lens, to make this a little more clear. But I think it's a really easy process that just by listening to me right now, you probably got the hang of it. Very simple to do. But remember, non-abrasive cleaner. And it doesn't matter, like I used to go to Walgreens, and I can't remember the name of the brand that I got, but it was non-abrasive after I had this talk with my friend. And they stopped carrying it, and rather than searching the shelves over there, Walmart, has it, CVS has it, Walgreens has it, any photo store is going to have it, but you have to check the ingredients and make sure that what you're getting does not have abrasives in there, because that will change, number one, the focus of the laser, and it'll actually make the focus, it'll take it out of focus slightly, which will make it harder to cut, and it'll give you, a bad engraving. So all these little micro scratches that you get from these abrasive cleaners really do affect the lenses. And if you've been, doing this cleaning with abrasive cleaners, then spend the $30 and go pick up a new lens, a new convex lens or whatever, and start from scratch using a pure cleaner. And like I said, I'll put a link to this Purity cleaner down below. A bottle like this should last the average user, I don't know, a year, maybe more, even a commercial user. This comes with, I think, 2 of these little spray bottles and I think a 9-ounce refill, something like that. So this will last a very, very long time. It's only a couple of dollars, and it's worth every single. And it does come with a little microfiber cloth that you can wash. So really important, keeping your lens and your mirrors adjusted and clean, and your lens clean. And if you do those 2 things, you're going to avoid a lot of problems with your CO2 laser and with your diode laser especially. A lot of people say, well, it's been losing power. I don't really subscribe to that theory that they lose power quickly like a lot of people do. I have my original diode lasers that I used for production that ran thousands of hours are still next door. My old, original diode lasers before they were even a thing. And they still work just like they did when they were new. And I think the main reason for that is because I keep those lenses clean. And it all has to do with the lens. And with the diode lenses, I actually replaced 1 or 2 lenses, I don't remember how many, on 3 different machines. But I changed them to M8 lenses because I wanted to cut better with the diode. So that was the only reason that I changed them. I could have kept those all these years, and all the production work that they've done, I could have kept the original lens, the original diode laser module, and it would still be performing like new. So I know that they do degrade over time, and from what I've learned from the technicians, that number is not as big as we believe it to be. The first 10% goes the fastest, and then after that it's a very, very slow decline from there. So, yeah, that's about it. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. This is something that I wanted to make. It's been on my list for about 3 months now, and I wanted to push this one out because just recently I've gotten a lot of questions about the kerf offset. And one person in particular was ready to buy these files off of Etsy. And I think it was $8 or $8.50, something like that. And I said, why in the world would you need to buy those files? All you have to do is find out what the kerf offset is on your laser. Now remember, this file is for one particular laser. So if you have 2 or 3 lasers, you have to run this file on all 2 or 3 of those lasers because every one of them is going to have a different kerf offset. So keep that in mind. So don't just get this file, do it, set your cut layer, and then trash it. You need to keep the file. Eventually, you're going to probably replace that laser if you're like any of the other laserists that I know. So, or you're going to add another laser to your shop, or you might add a CO2 laser. This file will be, handy to use in the future. And like I said, I'll put a link down below. If you like it, rather than buy it somewhere, if you like it, you could just go ahead and click the little thanks button down there and donate $1 or $2 to the effort. But there's no need to. This is a pure training video. I want you to get the most out of your laser experience that you can get, and I want you to have the least amount of questions. So that's the reason I'm doing this video today. So I hope you enjoyed the video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Hello, everybody. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Rich. How's it going today?
Going well. How you doing? What is that shirt that you're wearing? That doesn't look like one of your regular shirts.
No, this is a special shirt that I received from Terrell Fixes All. If you haven't saw their YouTube channel, check it.
Deeply nourished hair. No sulfates, parabens, or dyes. The new herbal essences.
Do you have an older vehicle that needs a facelift? Are your seats fading, cracked, or stained? If so, you should check out SeatCoversUnlimited.com and shop hundreds of stylish options, custom stitched for your exact vehicle's make and model. Don't go another day staring at your dated vehicle, and treat yourself with a new set of seat covers from Seat Covers Unlimited. Click above or below for 20% off your order.
For all your waterproofing needs, visit TrimcoSealants.com.
Airheads commercial. Want to skip it?
With Airheads, you can't not play, even in a skip ad.
Airheads have more fun.
deeply nourished hair. No sulfates, parabens, or dyes. The new herbal essences.
That must be bigger than I thought. Keep going. I think there is still some left. Yeah, now it's ready. I think the worm maker is going to be interesting. Oho! I'm not sure if that fit into the camera, so it's way bigger than I thought. It was like mushroom Oh my god! Much longer than I thought. This should be slightly harder. Oh my god! Oh my god! And here we go. Here it goes. Yeah, that's cool.
Are we still the stars of the show?
Don't worry. Any minute now, they're all going to be racing to get some chocolate bunny. Any minute now.
Five Below. More Easter, more awesome.
Hey, this is Cam with Blacktail Studio, and this is my first ever woodworking anthology. And yes, I looked up the definition of the word anthology to make sure that it applied here. But this is a compilation of my all-time favorite woodworking projects, and people have told me in the past that they sometimes use my videos to help them fall asleep at night, and although I don't know that that's a compliment, I'm going to do anything, I'm going to do it all the way. So this is the video that will get you deep into REM sleep if that's your thing, and these projects range in timeline from a few months ago to a few years ago, so you really get to see the evolution of my woodworking skill, my camera work, and even my voiceover. I hope you enjoy. People often ask me, what do you do with all of that leftover wood? Do you burn it? Can I have it? And the answer sometimes is yes to both, but generally I try to keep it and repurpose it later. And both of these pieces came off the same slab that I made, just probably a couple months ago, and they were really pretty wood, and you can see it's actually a really thick stock, so I thought I could actually do something with it. So I took this long, a little bit narrower piece, and I'm going to cut it into two medium-sized chunks, glue them together, and this is going to be kind of the main stem of a round table base that I'm making. I think walnut varies in color more than any other wood, whereas if you got a white oak slab, you could pretty much match it with another white oak slab relatively closely, whereas something like this walnut varies in color from like a light brown to a dark brown to this really kind of almost deep red with some almost black streaks in it once it gets finished. And because of this, it's really important when you're building a project to build it all from the same tree, if at all possible, because I don't like staining things, and stain was just kind of to mute the colors. So if I'm just going to highlight the natural colors, they all need to be from the same tree. And especially for the shaft section, both of these definitely need to match, and even the base that I used is from the same slab, so everything is going to match just perfectly. There are two main camps in the woodworking world when it comes to doing glue-ups. One side says you only add glue to one piece and then add the other piece dry. The other side is like I'm doing there and adding glue to both pieces. And I don't feel super passionate about it. Part of me feels like one piece might almost get like an air pocket or a dry spot. I don't know if I'm being that sensitive. I would love to know the counter-argument to why not add glue to both sides. So if you do feel strongly about it, let me know your opinions on adding glue to one or both. As a woodworking YouTuber, I get a lot of questions, and they're usually something in the vein of who do you think you are, or maybe what gives you the nerve. But occasionally, I get constructive questions, and probably the most frequent constructive question that I get is related to my finishing process, and I'm very, very proud of my finishing process. It's taken me a long time. I don't want to say to perfect, because I'm always working on making it better, but I am very confident in that process at this point, and because I get so many questions on it, and because it's such a lengthy process, I eventually decided to make my own free finishing workshop. It's very similar to my paid epoxy workshop, but this one's completely free, and there's no bait and switch, there's no come in and get the first chapter, they don't charge you for the other chapters. All of it is completely free, and it will remain free forever once you sign up. I may end up charging for it eventually. That was my original plan. I was going to have a paid finishing workshop, but thought I would just rather give this one away. It's like an hour and a half long, and it takes you through every step to get an essentially perfect finish, even in a dusty shop, because it's not much of a process if you need a big fancy spray booth or something like that. So if you want some details on that free finishing workshop, there's a link in the description. I really like having a 12-inch miter saw, but I feel like no matter how big of a tool we get, we always max it out. We always need one just a little bit bigger, and that's what the problem was here, is that 12-inch miter saw couldn't quite cut through this stock, so I had to come back with my router table and my flush trim bit and just nip off that last little bit. The design that I'm going for is based on a couple of end tables that I built in a video a couple months ago, and for that video I wanted to spend less than $100 and then make $1,000 profit, not using any of my social media. And for that I have hand sculpted a couple of end tables, and I think in the end I was able to make about $950, and it was a really cool video. And I even just got a comment from someone saying that they liked the idea and they were inspired by it, so they copied the design, made their own Etsy listing, and they were able to make a similar sale in, I think they said it was 8 days. So really proud of that, because I think woodworking should be more accessible than some of these, super expensive slabs that you see me use in other videos. So if you want to see that video, I'll leave a link in the video description as well. For the sculpted tables I've built in the past, I've attached the stem to the base with epoxy and just a domino, and that is really, really strong, but this is going to be kind of a full-size dining table, or at least a full-size breakfast table, so I wanted something even stronger than that. So I'm doing kind of an oversized mortise and tenon joint, and to do that I needed to make a little jig, and that's all I'm doing here was just cutting. It's not even a perfect square, it's just barely off of being a square, so just a perfectly 90-degree kind of rectangle that I'm attaching with double-sided tape, and I'm going to be using my router with a brass bushing jig to cut the notch here, and this will all make sense in just a little bit, but using this jig enables me to make perfect 90s, and I can go about as deep as the router bit would go, which was around 2 inches or so. After I got the mortise cut, I could take the same jig over to my stem and cut the same recess there, just making sure that I have the grain lined up the way I want it to go, because I do want those vertical stripes to go the same direction on both the base and the stem. So really critical that I didn't forget that there. But the cool thing about this is it will be a perfect fit. I just need to cut a tenon now that matches it just exactly. And since, as I mentioned before, it's not a perfect square, I have to make a couple cuts and just really slowly dial this in. And this walnut here isn't from the same tree. It actually doesn't matter. I probably didn't even walnut at all. But you see I got the first one cut, and that one is still a little bit too big. And this was quite a few more tries than that. I probably spent about half an hour there, taking a little bit out at a time. After I got both sides fitting just barely snug, I took it over to my router table, and since I cut the mortise with a 1/2-inch router bit, I used my 1/4-inch round over there to round over each corner, and in theory, all of these are going to just slide right in, because if I used a 1/2-inch router bit, should work with a 1/4-inch round over bit, in theory. And as you can see, I actually got pretty lucky, and that ended up working in the end, but it was quite snug, and I had a little bit of a problem not getting it in, but the problem was getting it out, and this made me feel a little bit better about using this as far as strength goes, but it was actually a little bit frustrating working this out. The glue that I'm going to be using for this is like a marine epoxy. It's different than the deep pour epoxy you see me use in some of my tables, and the reason I'm going with epoxy is it does a better job at holding this long grain to the end grain. Normally I really like just plain old wood glue, but for this bond I think epoxy is going to be a little bit better. In one of my past videos I was doing essentially the same thing. I was having to come up with a way to clamp this stem to the base, and I did it by stretching a 2x4 over the top and running clamps to either side, and I thought that I was pretty clever, and someone commented like, yeah, there's a name for that, it's called bridge clamping, and I didn't know there was an actual name for it, but it does work well for something like this.
Delicious 2-ingredient weeknight dinners. Approved. Who could have figured out she wanted to labor 6 weeks early? Is he gonna be okay? I was born 6 weeks early. Oh, shit.
One of the most difficult and frustrating parts of doing these carved bases is, even though this base was plain flat before I got started, by the end there's almost always some little warping and twisting, and it doesn't sit perfectly flat, and it's really frustrating. And I finally came up with a solution for it, and that's what this little notch is here. And you'll have to wait to see how I actually use this notch, but this is going to enable me to keep the base perfectly flat. Normally this is about the time when I would do my best to find a way to ask you for a subscription without annoying you, but this time we're going to do things a little bit different. I've never asked you guys to share a video before, but this time I think it's a little bit different. As I mentioned earlier, 100% of the proceeds of this one are going to be going to Make-A-Wish, so I think this is a really good cause, and if we can get enough people to share this, I think we could potentially raise a good amount of money. All we really need is 2 people that really like this. As anybody who's done an auction knows, it only takes 2. So if we can get this in front of as many people as we can, I think it could really help drive the bidding up. And even if the auction is already over by the time you watch this, maybe you're watching it a year later, the better these types of videos do, the more of them I'll be able to do, so I would still love it if you could share it. save the subscription, subscribe on the next video if you like it, but this one, if you're willing to share Facebook, a link, an email, however you can, I would love it if you could help get the word out about this fundraiser. If you're a woodworker looking to kind of separate yourself from what's already out there, I highly recommend trying some of this power carving. There's not a lot of people out there. My first several projects weren't very good, and I finally am actually rather proud of the last several projects I've been able to make. And if you want some advice, start at the base there. That transition at the very bottom in the middle is where I start all my tables now, because if you try to start from the outside in, by the time you get to that center section, you might not like that transition. Whereas if you start from the in and work outwards, you can really kind of control how the flow looks. And for this, I'm using primarily these Kutzall discs, and this is the Kutzall Extreme disc here. They have been a long-time supporter of my channel. And this is the blue Extreme disc, and they're made from tungsten carbide. They don't ever really get dull. They do a really great job of smoothing out. They do make a lot of dust, so you need your eye protection. You need a respirator for sure. I like to wear gloves. Gloves in woodworking are kind of a controversial issue because people think that they can get caught in the machine, but really, I don't think an angle grinder is powerful enough to suck your glove in and hurt your hand. And here I'm actually trying a flap disc. This is like a metalworking disc, and some people in my last video told me I should try it. And it actually did work really well, but this flap disc just for one was like $10, and they do wear out, I don't know, relatively quickly. Whereas those Kutzall discs are about $60, and they essentially last really forever, more or less. Most of the time I can get all of the rough power carving done in just one day, or even just one afternoon. This table was actually a little bit too big, so it stretched into the second day, and that's what I'm doing here, is getting it set up on day 2. If you're wondering what that vise is that I'm using there, that's called a jaw horse, and that was actually a suggestion from someone in the comments of one of my last video. I was doing the carving on that log, and it was flopping all around, and they just said, hey, why don't you get a jaw horse? And I'd heard of them, but I was kind of skeptical of the 3-leg design, but it actually works really well, and I was able to do basically all the power carving with that jaw horse. And if you're wondering what tool that is there, that is the Arbortech Turbo Plane, and it doesn't leave a particularly smooth finish, but it does a really good job of removing a lot of material in a hurry, as you can see there. So I did the very rough carving with the Turbo Plane, and then I switched back over to the Kutzall for the finer smoothing out. And you don't need this many Kutzall wheels. I really like the original Kutzall Fine Disc. This is one of the more concave ones in a medium grit. But start with just one. They're like $60. Most woodworkers probably have an angle grinder, so you can really get started power carving with just one $60 Kutzall disc, and from there you can kind of add discs as needed. After I got all the loose debris blown in the general direction of my neighbor's house, I was ready to go back inside and start smoothing out some of those lumps. And for this stage, I really like using a spoke shave. And if you've never used a spoke shave, you really don't need to be intimidated. There's no real way to mess it up. If you have it set too deep, they'll just catch on the wood and won't really shave anything off. So just play around with the setting until it starts removing little shavings, and it's actually a pretty fun tool to use, and it does a really good job at smoothing out all those high spots. If you're wondering, that chunk behind me is a giant piece of old-growth redwood for an upcoming project that costs like $4,500 from GL Veneer, and I'm actually really curious what this piece actually sells for, because price is always a very contentious issue with anything that I make. At this stage, I'm actually still shaping pretty heavily. I'm using 40 grit sandpaper on my Rotex sander, and if you've never used a Rotex, it's kind of like a hybrid between an angle grinder and a sander. With the 40 grit, it can move a lot of material really quick, so I can still continue to shape it. And here I'm ready to start doing the little recess on the underside, and this is going to make it easier for the table to sit flat. And it's the same reason why you see bowls in place with a little ring around them, because it's much easier for that small ring to sit flat than the entire surface having to be perfectly flat. And this time I'm doing it a little different. I caught a little flack. People said that it was kind of ugly that I did underneath. So I like this textured pattern, and this is an Arbortech ball gouge, and so I'm going to just carve out this textured pattern on the entire underside. And this way it'll look pretty cool. I get to practice my texturing, and it will provide that recess that'll allow that outer ring to sit perfectly flat. I mentioned earlier that this piece started out flat, but I knew from past experience by the time I got done doing all the work on it that there was going to be some variation, some little warp or twist or cup, and that center section, in theory, was going to enable me to correct this. And here's what I came up with. I had that little center section recessed, put that block of plywood in there, I ran a screw into that piece of MDF. So as I rotate it on that screw, it will slowly take off the low spots. And I'd never done this before. I've never seen this done before, and I wasn't entirely sure it was going to work. I've had problems in the past when I've tried to get a little too clever, but I went really slow. I had a really sharp bit, and I slowly rotated it around, and as I went, I realized it was actually working, and I was thrilled because this was going to make it so it was going to be perfectly flat, which is always such a challenge. The only problem was, after I got done and got the entire ring the same height, that center section now was actually sticking out, whereas it used to be recessed. Since I'd already textured that center section, it was going to be really hard to track the progress of where I needed to still remove material, and to make that a little bit easier, I did an automotive trick, and that was actually to use spray paint so I could track my progress. And you probably noticed earlier with that Arbortech, it caused a lot of chip out that I had to clean up. And this is the cut saw ball nose burr, and this doesn't chip out at all. The only problem is my die grinder isn't nearly as powerful as an angle grinder, so it took a little bit longer. So the cut saw is much smoother, much nicer, no chip out, but the Arbortech is nice because you're able to attach it to an angle grinder. Eventually, I'll just get a more powerful die grinder, and that should solve that problem. And there, I still had a few high points, so I used the cut saw fine disc, smoothed them out, made sure everything was flat with my level,